So you guys know what the best thing about getting woke is? I mean, you can see immediate results. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when you get woke, you see immediate results, the likes of which will completely plummet your stock. What's happening to Ubisoft right now is honestly quite amazing, and it's nothing different than what we've seen for like Target, Bud Light, etc. You know what I mean? When investors start panicking, but it involves a whole nother conversation that I kind of want to get into regarding what just happens when a company decides to get woke and all of a sudden these investors panic. It's almost as if these investors are unaware of what's actually happening because they're being lied to all the time.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
So we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Ubisoft stock plummets 15% after Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer debuts and the company failed to meet forecasted sales figures. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once this trailer debuted with our good old DEI samurai, that thing actually rhymes, by the way, it ended up causing a ripple effect throughout the stock market, and it made all of these investors decide to plummet the stock and start selling off. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says Ubisoft stock plummeted over 15% after the company released its first trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows and reported that it missed forecasted sales figures. On May 15th, Ubisoft's stock price hit $23.35. By May 16th, the price plummeted to $20.02. It went as low as $19.74. As of writing, the price is currently at $21.28. Now, this is why I want to bring up this conversation, okay? It's because every time a company gets woke, right, and to invest in Ubisoft and not know that this company is all for ESG, I think that's pretty much insane, right? At this point, you have to know, if you're an investor, what companies are woke as shit, right? And to pretend as if you didn't know when all of a sudden you see a trailer come out about this game, I just think it's a little bit odd to me. They must know. So when I see things like this, it's like, why wait till this point in time? Why wait here? Why now? Why panic sell so hard to the point where you plummet the stock? Because what ends up happening is that you're going to have people sell off their stock while it's at $23, $24, whatever it was at this case, and then it ends up going super cheap. And then you're going to have other investors who are trying to buy the stock super cheap, then buy it when it reaches an all-time low, thus increasing the stock over time to a point where now it's at $21.28. Now, it hasn't fully recovered, granted, but what ends up happening is that the people who invested here at $19 and the amount of shares that they're bought, they already made their money back. When you see it go to $21.28. So if it goes back to what it was up here, then the people that bought here are extremely smart and knew what to do. So it says the stock price dropped in the wake of Ubisoft predicting the company will only bring in a net bookings of $299 million for the first quarter. The company shared its outlook. Net bookings for the first quarter of 2024 and 2025 are expected to come in just at around 275 million euro or $299 million. Bloomberg's Daniel claims that this is significantly down from what the number of analysts were predicting. He reported that the compares with an average estimate of 376 million among analysts surveyed by Bloomberg. 376 is about $408 million. So the company obviously is not pulling in nowhere near as much money. Their cash flow is going down. Things are not looking very good for Ubisoft. So I can understand why this panic sale ended up happening after that announcement, because that announcement came at the same time that this trailer dropped. So the correlation between the two are pretty interesting to me. It says, while Ubisoft predicted first quarter bookings would come in lower than expected, the company did try to be optimistic about its future outlook with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I gotta imagine, okay, these two games are coming from two IPs that back in the day were extremely popular. Assassin's Creed, still a pretty popular IP. Star Wars, that's arguable. We've seen a lot of Star Wars, adventures or venues fail. They don't do as well. Obviously, I think that the name, unfortunately, has been dragged through the dirt so much that people are basically taking a second look at anything Star Wars, whereas before, they would just buy it up simply because it was Star Wars, right? It doesn't really have that name anymore, that long-lasting name where it's like, oh, Star Wars? Yeah, I'm just going to buy it just because it's Star Wars. It doesn't have that anymore. And Star Wars Outlaws, you guys already know what happened with that trailer. The response for that video game was astronomically bad. And now you have Assassin's Creed Shadows that is basically following suit in the same way. It says the company reported that the company is introducing its financial targets for 24 and 25 and expects solid net bookings growth, slight increase in non-IFRS operating income, and growing non-IFRS cash flow from operations leading to positive free cash flow. The FY25 lineup includes, on the premium side, Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws, two of the industry's most anticipated games for the year. I mean, whoa, wait, time out. I don't know if they're the most anticipated games for the year. Let's calm down a little bit. Calm down, Ubisoft. Ubisoft loves to pat themselves on the back as if they're making the same kind of quality games that they were making years ago when it comes to like the original Far Cry's and whatnot. You're not the same company. Let's relax a little bit. You're basically the Call of Duty with Assassin's Creed. You're putting out the same exact shit with a different skin and trying to pretend as if it's stunning and brave. Let's relax. This is not the most anticipated games of the year. And on the free-to-play side, Rainbow Six Mobile, The Division Resurgence, and X Defiant, it added. However, CIC Markets analyst Eric Rivari was not as optimistic, adjusting his FY25 estimates down from 471 million to 412 million. That's a decline of 12.5%. I mean, listen, we saw what happened with Square Enix recently, right? Square Enix lost 70%. I still, with that number, I cannot wrap my mind around the fact that they had an operating income of about high 300 millions, and then they dropped to $90 million. I mean, that company is god-awful in a bad situation right now. It is really bad. These other companies, Sony, Ubisoft, they're not hurting as bad. Sony took a 10% hit. Obviously, you guys already know about that. I did a video on that. And now we have Ubisoft claiming that they're going to take around a 10 to 12, even 13% hit. These companies are losing money left and right. And after a while, you're going to start realizing there's a domino effect. You're going to see it play out right in front of you, right before your eyes. It says, while Ubisoft is touting Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws as two of the industry's most anticipated games of the year, both games are facing significant pushback from gamers. The Star Wars Outlaws trailer has only 2.4 million views. It has over 179,000 dislikes and only 40,000 likes. The Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer has 5.9 million views, but over 444,000 dislikes and only 241,000 likes. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio over people disliking it versus liking it. And that's about right. Like we see that happen quite often. Anytime we have something controversial, it's usually a 2-to-1, even a 3-to-1. Very rarely is it a complete and utter destruction in terms of likes versus dislikes. But in this scenario, these numbers pretty much track to what they should be. So it looks like, unfortunately for Ubisoft, these two highly anticipated games, yeah, I think that's a PR spin for their investors. A lot of these investors are just so fucking dumb. They don't realize what's happening in the culture of gaming, and all they're looking at is numbers and whatever's being promised by Ubisoft. And if they stopped listening to Ubisoft and stopped listening to that PR speak, you'll realize very quickly that these two games are probably not going to do nowhere near as well as they should have. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.